Hello and welcome to the Layers podcast. I'm your host Tayo and I'm so happy to have you join us today. The heart behind the Layers network and podcast is to see people grow. So each conversation we have is designed to have something in there just for you. And I hope that that very thing that you take away equips and empowers you to broaden your thinking, your network, and your personal influence. So whether you're at home, in the car, or on your daily commute, relax and enjoy the conversation. Hello and welcome back to the Layers podcast. In our guest seat today, we have the incredible Kachi with us today. Kachi is a tech and corporate lawyer, and she is also the founder and creator of the Kachi Tea blog and the digital platform, newly launched digital platform, the UpWomen, all of which focuses on empowering women in all areas of their lives, from finance to style to business and just personal development in general. So welcome, Kachi. How amazing is everything you're doing?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tayo. It's an honor to be here with you today.
I'm so excited. I know that I just did an intro, but walk us through your journey and tell us, you're a lawyer, you're a writer, you're a blogger, you're a founder, you're an entrepreneur. It's like so many hats, and you're a mom, a new mom as well.
When you put it that way, it does sound a bit, like a lot is going on.
Yeah.
But I think all of the steps and the journey has been quite different. Primarily, in the way we tend to introduce ourselves, I would say that I'm a corporate and technology lawyer and a mom of two boys.
Yeah.
I'm also the founder of the newly launched, like you said, digital platform and member collective called the UpWomen. On the side, I also run a lifestyle blog because I genuinely enjoy writing. So it's been a journey bringing all of those things together, but I truly think, I'm at a good place right now. That is my core. That is what I do and who I am.
That's amazing. So how did you start? Let's start with UpWomen. How did you start the UpWomen? Where did the idea come from, and what was the process like?
It's one of those things that have had a natural, organic journey. It was so there was no point where I thought, I have to sit down to create this, big digital platform for women, or I have to champion or believe women, or, women empowerment, girl boss kind of things. It was really never at my core. As a matter of fact, I've always considered myself to be more like a 9-to-5, career-driven, just me and my family and, in my own little bubble. But one thing I would say, and I guess this is the point where sometimes our interests and our passions are always, whether or not we choose to pursue them, they're always somewhere, beneath the surface. The things that we've enjoyed throughout childhood, the things that brought us joy. And I remember, just growing up, I really enjoyed writing. I enjoyed I used to think of myself as potentially, if I wasn't going to be a lawyer, then I would be in the media space. So I would write, I would own like a magazine. Yeah. And the one magazine I remember that did that for me was a Nigerian, growing up in Nigeria. It was a Nigerian, there were two. So first there was Genevieve.
Oh yeah.
Was it called Genevieve?
Yeah, Genevieve magazine.
I think it was. Yeah. I think it was, and it was Betty Irabo, right?
She was like my neighbor growing up.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
You have no idea how I used to what actually used to fascinate me was that her daughter had her own column, Sonia Irabo, right, at the back of the magazine. And I would just think, oh my God, how amazing is this? That this teenage girl is writing in this big magazine. Like, I wish I could do it, but I didn't have that access, right? And then the other magazine for me was True Love. I liked the way I used to buy every edition of True Love. Now, was it me or my mom? I don't remember, but I knew I had every edition. And I liked the way it sort of painted, even though the name says True Love, it would dive into deeper topics like finance, like style, like career. And that was the kind of thing I wanted to do. But over time, that passion probably, I don't want to say subsided, but it got overtaken by the go to uni, get a first class, get a good job, the regular, typical route to success.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't explore much of that. I still was a member of like the press clubs and things in university, but my core target was, you know what, Kachi, you have to make it first class so that you can get a great job, so that you can have a lot of money. And that was it. That was what I did until I then moved to the UK, and I found out that being in a new environment, being, you know, sort of alone again, without my friends, without my circle of friends and family, it sort of forced that writing passion out of me again. And so it started with my lifestyle blog. I just wanted to write, to share my thoughts, my experiences, but also to teach people, like, and to form new connections. And all that then, you know, it's such a journey. But yeah, ultimately, what started on the pages of my blog, we ended up having in-person events, and 2 years after hosting a number of events and connecting with incredible women, you know, in London, I just thought it's time to put all of these things together. It's time to create this platform that connects women, that empowers women, that, you know, teaches and just genuinely build those relationships. It's time to put it in one space. So it brings together, you know, content, you know, connection, conversations. That is what the UpWomen, and that has been the journey. Well, in a nutshell.
In a nutshell. That's amazing. I was actually going to say what you said about you were reading and you were like, okay, I have this thing. Like growing up Nigerian parents are always like law, business, medicine, go sort yourself out. And so it's like there's this structure of what's expected and like my, I guess, career path, but actually this is what I'm passionate about. You found a way to just merge them together. And I watched an interview recently, and it actually wasn't an interview. It was Oprah just talking about her life and her journey. And she said if she didn't, she always wanted to read. She loved reading, but she always wanted to write. She always wanted to act. But then when she got older, she just, you know, got a job at a news station and was doing a desk job for a little while. And it's so funny how everyone's passion just, if you can't really bottle it, after a while, it's just like, I'm coming out. I'm coming out right now. So when you were walking me through your journey, you said, you know, you moved here, and I guess obviously there was a bit of that loneliness of a new country, different culture, away from family and friends. How did you, I don't think that you can do what you're doing now without some uncertain level of uncertainty and being pushed out of your comfort zone. How do you think that that's like helped you being like actually like out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, I agree with you. Actually, I think that I honestly believe that if I were back, you know, if I hadn't moved to the UK from Nigeria as a 25-year-old adult, I will just have continued, you know, in that safety net. You know, I had my friends around me. I had my career going for me. There was no need. I didn't even know the world of blogging. So to a very large extent, just moving out of my comfort zone, it created new opportunities, right? And it's that vacuum that then has to be filled. So I know it can be really, you know, potentially life-changing when people find themselves in awkward situations. But I always say, just take it one step at a time, right? You don't have to see the full staircase. But if you think that, okay, could this work? Could this not work? It's one step at a time. And like I said, I didn't know at the point where I published my first blog post that 4 years down the line, I'll be creating something much bigger, you know. But it was like, oh, if anyone reads this, fine. You know, if they don't, I published it. I only shared to family and friends on Facebook. That was the only community I had at that time. I had barely joined Instagram or, you know, had any other form of social media. But it's just taking that first step. I truly think sometimes we get too comfortable and we just need that extra pressure, you know, to just push us into the things that we're really meant to be
doing. I think this year is that there's so many business. I think it was even a post on the UpWomen on Instagram, and I'll link everything on my page when this comes out. And I think there's a post on what business did you launch, or did you start during this lockdown? And it was just so incredible to see all the different people saying, I launched this, or I started this, or I relaunched this. And it's kind of, I actually think with all the craziness of this year, it actually forced people being uncomfortable really forced people to be like, okay, everything you've been saying you're going to do, you better do it now.
You better do it. Tomorrow, there's no certainty, right?
Yeah.
You know, just do it. Take that leap. Hard as it may be, as much as you can. Yeah, just do it.
Absolutely. So actually, when you said that you didn't know that your first blog post was going to just be like the catalyst for everything, that's kind of how we connected on Instagram, because Bobby Brown was like, she didn't know that she was creating a makeup brand. She was just making lipsticks because she liked lipstick. How do you think that that's for people who are young and thinking about starting their business and feeling all that pressure? What advice would you give to them in starting that way?
Oh, it's so cliche, but it's really, you know, think of it as one step at a time. Are you, while I'm a big fan of, you know, big visions and, you know, what's the grand dream, I always say, oh, if you had a blank check, what would you write on it? Where do you see this becoming? At the same time, it's good to have that at the back of your mind, but at the same time, start with feeling the need of today, right? It's like people who say, okay, I want to create this, but I don't have enough customers. If you have 10 people, start with them, right? It's the ripple effect. If you create a blog, serve the 10 people who are reading the blog, get testimonials from those 10 people, try to get them to get it to their network, right? At the end of the day, every single success story starts from that first step. So for me, it's always take the first step today, but think of how you can improve on that step tomorrow. You know, so, okay, I got one person to read my blog today. How can I get it to 2 people tomorrow? How can I get those 2 people to get it to 2 more people? How can I get my product to 10 more people? It's the hardest part, I think, is actually just hitting that, you know, send button or launch button or putting yourself out there, you know, writing that first post. Once you get that done, then it's a lot easier. So if you're thinking of starting something, 1, just start. 2, surround yourself with a team or a circle of advisors, mentors, friends, you know, genuine people who will tell you, look, okay, this is great, you've started, but this is the way to go. Okay, this is the feedback I have. Okay, this is how I'll share it to my network. We're not created in isolation. You know, we're created to thrive in community. And people who continue to grow, to thrive, to excel, you'll find out that they're tapping immensely into the community that they have. And in the world that we live in today, social media is, you know, social media and online connections are great, such that irrespective of where you are, right, you can access a global network of people to help you on that journey. So that would be my top 2, you know, tips for anyone who's unsure of where to go and how to do things from now on.
No, I think both tips are fantastic and amazing. I'm all for taking it one step at a time. Like, I think even creating layers, I created the Instagram page and I left it for like a month. But I was like, that's done. The Instagram page is done. And then it was like, okay, so what's the logo going to be? And then it took like months, whereas when you look at the whole staircase, that you're looking at a finished product. And your way to that finished product might change, actually. But you have to be
it will change many times.
You have to be super flexible. And I think both of us are on the same page with like a community and a network. It's so important, especially for women. What is the one thing that you've found in interacting with your community and with other women in the business that women struggle with the most? And this could be in life or in career.
It's a couple of things, but it's all packaged into that imposter syndrome, into underselling yourself, into fear, you know, into, oh my, I can't do this. It's that you would find it in business. You would find it in in the corporate space.
Yeah.
You would find it everywhere. Women are constantly belittling their achievements.
Yeah.
They're constantly appearing humble and overly modest and underselling themselves, shortcutting themselves, not stepping up to ask for what they deserve, not believing in their source technically. And it happens to me. It happens to the best of us. That is the one thing that I have seen. If you put an average woman and you put an average man, the results would be clearly outstanding.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised.
Very different. Yeah.
Very different. I mean, research shows that a man just potentially has to, have 30% of the skills for a job to apply for the job. But you'll see a woman just before she's like, oh, do I take this? Do I take this? Do I take it? Oh, I take 9 out of 10. Oh, I can't apply for this job. I don't meet the requirements.
Yeah.
And that is the one thing. We undersell ourselves a whole lot.
A whole lot. I agree with you. My friend was actually telling me, she was saying that she asked like one of her guy friends to help her out with her CV, and she was like, what she sent to him and what he sent back to her, she was like, all those she was writing, I assisted with and I helped it. She was like, when he sent it back to her, she was like, I this doesn't even look like
I
the
didn't
same.
do this.
Yeah, she was like, are you sure that doesn't sound like I'm being too? He was like, no, that's exactly what you did.
Yeah.
And it was different in tone. And then my other friend as well said that when she was going into her new job, she had a salary in mind that she was going to say is her expected salary. And then her guy friend was like, no, ask for this. And she was just like, that's way too much. Like, I'm not going to do that. And she was like, when she got into the interview, she was just like, let me just ask. And she was like, she asked and they gave it to her without even like a question or anything. And she was like, that's how I've underpriced myself so much.
And you underprice yourself, taking this job example, you underprice yourself from that beginning such that it's so hard to catch up, if ever, because all of your promotions, all of your bonuses is going to stem from that underselling that you do, right? It's just then difficult to capture the value that you bring in and get that spike. So that is definitely the one thing. If there was another thing, it would be that we don't, for men, they just have this like old boys club. They find it easy to just reach out to people, to tap connections to. We women are generally more reserved, we're like, oh.
Yeah. I don't know how much of that or how much you think of that is. So I always say that I think that women, especially, Nigerian women, Black women, I think it's very much the case that when you're growing up, parents and communities, they always tell us, oh, be careful when you do this because this is how this is going to make this person feel. They don't necessarily say that to guys. So I think women always grow up with this consciousness of what I do affects this person, what I do makes this person feel that way, what I do makes this XYZ. Whereas I think that men approach the world through the lens of the world is literally a man's world, and they feel it belongs to them, so they don't have to struggle with that. Am I sounding too bossy? Am I sounding too this? They're just like, this is for me and I'm just going to go for it. That's what I always think is like one of the reasons.
I agree with you. I definitely agree with you on that point where, yes, I can't even say anything further because that is so spot on. It's like men don't have anything to lose, right?
Yeah.
Women, it's the cautiousness, and it's as a result of societal, family, everyone's just you to, oh, you must be, how's it said? You must be seen and not heard, But there's a lot of unlearning to do, and there's so much we have to do in terms of, valuing ourselves a lot more and appreciating who we are, what we bring to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think ask for a salary like a white man. Just channel a white man and ask for your salary. That's what you should do.
Honestly, just package. That is another, that into it. That's a whole. Some people say just act like a mediocre, in quote, white man would, because
pretty much.
Oh dear.
That was a conversation for a different day. But
It is.
I wanted to ask about, so I know that women and imposter syndrome, and every woman feels that. How have
Mhm.
you navigated that space? Because you did your law school in Nigeria, and then you did
Mhm.
your master's in Cambridge,
I did.
and Cambridge is, when I think it was like there was a hashtag one time where it was Oscar so white, but Cambridge so white
Yeah.
as well.
Cambridge so white.
Cambridge so white as well. How do you navigate those places where people assume that you don't belong in?
Whew. It's a constant daily upping yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's the one thing. First, you have to look at it and say, and when you have to tell yourself, I belong here.
Mm-hmm.
Those little affirmations, there's absolutely no reason, zero, none, that would make you feel that you do not belong in those spaces. Everywhere that your feet, goes into or finds
Mm-hmm.
you, or you 100% belong there. No one there is any better than you.
Yeah.
And this was interesting because, especially, bringing out this Cambridge thing, when I was applying to requalify, and this
Mm-hmm.
was me with excellent grades. I had worked in some great law firms in Nigeria, and I was trying to requalify here. And
Mm-hmm.
it was the most stressful period of my life. It
Yeah.
was potentially, it was I want to say I was like my value was I was made to feel like nothing. Like
Yeah.
every single email back was unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. We
I'm like,
regret
what
to.
is we regret to, you haven't met the criteria. And sometimes I'm like, what the actual heck is the criteria?
Yeah.
Because I know what I bring to the table. If you're trying to hire someone who is a lawyer that has for a global, law firm, I have
Mm-hmm.
actually worked on these global deals. So tell me how a 21-year-old that you're hiring from straight out of uni is better placed to, get this job.
Yeah.
But and that's where you have to then tweak your mindset and say, look, I wholeheartedly deserve this. But at the same time, what are people, whoever they're
Mm-hmm.
hiring for, what are they looking for, and how can I make sure that I am packaging myself, I am showing that value up front? Because
Yeah.
sometimes that is what it is. You're in spaces where people are demeaning you because they have failed to see your value,
Yeah.
because you haven't shown that value.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
there's one, first and foremost, you have to, goes back to that imposter syndrome thing. You have to realize your value,
Yeah.
claim it, accept it, and up it. Then you have to tell yourself that I belong in these spaces. But
Yeah.
then you also have to have people around you
Mm-hmm.
who are sort of, for want of a better word, knocking sense into your head. Like, look,
Yeah.
sometimes we do things and someone's like, why did you price it at that? Or why do you think or why did you say that? Or
Mm-hmm.
look, girl,
Mm-hmm.
do you know who you are again?
Yeah.
You're absolutely deserving of this and more. You need those people
Mm-hmm.
that are cheering you up to deal with those. And
Yeah.
so yes, that's what I think.
Yeah, I love that, and it's so true. I agree with everything, everything that you said, and it's so true. One of my friends that she's been started being approached by all these brands, and one time one of them offered such a ridiculous amount. She was like, "I'll just take it
Uh,
because the opportunity is good." I was like, "Absolutely not. That is a joke."
no,
I was like, "That is
no,
such a joke."
no.
So it's true. You need those people that are just gonna be like, "Girl, no."
Yeah, you can't. That whole. Oh gosh, I feel like that whole brand influencer thing is another thing that we need to, because that's a different topic entirely. But
Yeah.
yes, you have to act like you mean to go on, because it's one thing to say, and I'll just give you a quick example, like, oh, I'll just collect this product and do it for free
Mm-hmm.
because they'll come back to me. No, they wouldn't. They actually, when they're ready with a campaign that is going to pay the big dollars, they would go to the people who have
Yes.
priced themselves and value themselves,
Mm-hmm.
to
That's so
work
good.
on those huge campaigns. So no, you have to just start the way you plan to go on.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so true. I was saying on one of our other podcasts actually with Sade, and we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
influencers and pricing, and I was saying there's this lady I watch on YouTube. I think her name is Aisha Haran. I say think.
Okay.
I mean, last name I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's Haran. And she was saying that for Codely, she did all this like PR and product placement, and she would do like her code had like gotten like 20 grand plus worth of sales and everything, but they were like, oh, we can't pay because we don't have the budget. And they were like, can't pay because we don't have the budget. And she had done all those things, but all her other counterparts were getting paid. And the thing is, she was like, looking back now, probably should have just have let them go. I mean, the owner of Codely called her and apologized. This was like at the height of BLM this year, and I was just thinking about what you said now. It's so true. Like, you are doing all of that, and maybe they would come back to you, but when they're doing the big bucks and they're paying them.
They are.
They're paying the other people. Yeah. It's actually very scary. It's quite scary, these brands.
That is honestly, because when people approach me, like in terms of like my blog or my Instagram, oh, we want to work with you on this, and they say that we haven't got a budget, so many times the brand is coming through an agency and have been approached by some really, really big global, household names.
Yeah.
And they're coming through an agency. And my first question back to them typically is, are you working for free? Like, you, the agency, or has the brand, are you doing this pro bono? If you are, then tell me, maybe I can, maybe I can do it pro bono as well. If this is a charitable cause, but you're not. That's the first question. The brand has hired you. The second thing I always ask is, if you were going to a radio station, if you were going to a TV station, if you were going to, put an advert on the tube, you're not going to go look for the tube manager or London, network reel and say, oh, I'll give you some free products to put this in exchange. So why are you trying to devalue the work of women? And in this influencer industry, it's almost worse because it's an industry dominated by women. Yeah. And that's why they always seek to take advantage. But that's just my 2 cents on that point.
No, I really like that. I think I've never even thought about that. It's because I was saying that women at one point in the next at least 5 to 10 years are going to be higher income earners than men because they diversify their income, especially online. And it's so interesting that even within this industry that you were dominating, essentially, you're still being undervalued by big brands and even small brands as well.
Even small brands.
I don't know if it's that people don't understand the value, because advertising is like everything for a brand. Like I've worked in companies where people are from, like Coke paying however much money they pay to run their ads, and they'll do anything for that, and that's Coke that doesn't even need to run an ad. And you have companies that come into like places like CNN and want to like advertise their business. People pay so much for advertising because they know the value of it. And I don't know if because the tag influencer is attached that they don't think that it's the same thing.
I feel it's because I think it's coming mostly from the influencer point of view, because it's something that many of us stumbled into, right? There was no guidebook previously. It's new, it's emerging, it's growing. It's, if you were to price a lawyer or a medical doctor, you would know what these are established, or you wanted to hire someone else. But because influencer, there's still that, I've been in groups where people say, I have 100K followers, or I have 30K followers. Is £1,000 too much to charge? It's because it's intangible sometimes, or at least they perceive that it's intangible. So it's almost like sometimes you can't see and people will say, is it not just to post on Instagram? But
it's true.
There's a whole lot. Sometimes, in all honesty, when I try to do a campaign, I will think this is almost harder than my day job. Because
yes
my day job is something I've done for the past 10 years, right? I'm skilled at it. There are systems in place. There are other people who are, and you're probably doing one one sect of it.
Mm-hmm.
For your campaign, you're the photographer, you're the copywriter, you're the editor, you're posting. There's just so much going on. I think, and I still think it also goes back to the whole an industry dominated by women who aren't so clear on how to price and how to package things.
I was actually going to ask you this, and I think that you've actually just led into that so beautifully, because I think a lot of the focus sometimes is actually on the brands and the companies that don't pay out. But I like the point that you made of sometimes the influencer themselves just don't actually know how to price themselves because it is new. And it's still that thing about women being like, oh, but if I ask for too much, would they leave? Would they not want to work with me? And it all goes back to that. How do you encourage women, or when people sign up to be part of the UpWomen community, how do you help and encourage women to take steps? And that could be micro steps, that could be big steps.
To like
so just take the leap and just price yourself better. Or how do you even know how to?
So the UpWomen generally, when I think of our pillars, I think it's to connect women, to help you up your network, to help you up your career and your business, and to help you up your money and up your, your life generally, make sure that you're thriving. And I chose to put money there as a core. I could have subsumed it into career and business because, after all, if you have a thriving career or business, you're very likely to be making some money. But you find out that it's not true. It's not necessarily the case. I think women need to have open conversations about money. I appreciate the fact that, based on culture, based on a lot of things, it's not the easiest thing to do. Yeah. But what we then need to do is to cultivate safe spaces and a network that means we can genuinely have these conversations. These conversations are important because as an influencer or as a business person, as a career person, if you're not talking about money, you're leaving a lot on the table. Yeah. If you're not even sure, if you're not going to tell someone what you charged for this campaign, it's either, but you might be keeping that to yourself, and maybe you were paid well, but there's also a high chance that you were underpaid. Yeah. Right. You're not going to tell, oh, I'm applying for this job and this is what the salary is. What do you think? There's a high chance, again, like with your friend's example, that you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot, right? Yeah. If you're doing a business and you're not willing to share, oh, this is where I'm getting my supplies from, can I get it cheaper at this rate? Or what do you guys think about this price? Then you're not going to be producing or performing optimally. Yeah. These are core conversations, and these are conversations that men have. Oh. I would honestly think so. I would think that men will talk more. Men are more likely to talk about their salaries, to talk about how much they spend at the golf course, to talk about how much they, and we need to have those. So I think for me, the very first step is, first, there's the awareness and the mindset shift, right? That, okay, these are things we have to do. These are the areas we need to improve. Yeah. Then there's the education element of it, because a lot of us are walking, in the dark. We actually don't know. And it's not enough to say, oh, we need to talk about it. How do we talk about it? How do we improve? So for me at the UpWomen, education is such a core, I want to make sure that every month, every periodically, there are tools, there are experts coming in, there are resources, there are books that we're reading, there are conversations. All of this is targeted towards championing that change, championing that, mindset shifts, championing that, the way that you can then value yourself. That for me is the core. So education is such a powerful tool, and it's one thing that I would, I'm definitely focusing on as we launch this platform and beyond, because if you asked me the two things that have changed my life ever, it would be my education and the network I've been able to tap into. And I see the possibility for every other person.
I love everyone. Go, if you haven't already signed up for the newsletters and signed up to this community, go and do it now. Just go, go and do it now. I love that those two things have changed your life: education and the community. Like I remember saying about Oprah, and she was saying if she never learned how to read, like her grandmother taught her how to read, she was like, if I never learned how to read, my life would be completely different. She was like, if not for the education she received, and that's just formal education and just in other things, she was like, her life would be completely different. And in community and network, speaking of, when, we're speaking about Bobby Brown, she actually, I think it was that interview, another interview, she said when she wanted to start making the lipstick, she was like, oh, I need a lab. And she said she was just in an elevator with a lady, and she was just like, oh, what do you do? She started talking to her. She was like, oh, I work in like a cosmetics lab. She was like, oh my gosh, I'm like working on lipsticks. Do you, can you help me out with this? And she was like, sure, I'll make you a few sample batches. Till today, Bobby Brown makes its lipsticks in that lab.
That story is giving me goosebumps, and because that is exactly the power of connection. Like that, honestly, and it doesn't always. It's ridiculous that people, you're Yoruba, so you can probably even say this better than me. But there's that saying about Eniola Shami, right? Like. People are my covering. People are my clothing. People are your greatest resource. If you make the right connections, right? Absolutely. Wherever, and it's people change your mindset. People change your entire. I'm probably going on and on, but it's not. Because when and I'll use everything that I've done. Half of my network today probably stems from my high school, my secondary school, Queen's College, right? Or at least a quarter. And these are the people that have gone on to today. They're making waves everywhere. It's easy to tap, even if I haven't spoken to them in 20 years, right? It's easy to say, hey, we're in secondary school together. What are you up to now? Let's catch up. Every time I've been stuck or I need something, I can always fall back to that network, right? Absolutely. But even in terms of when I was going to go to Cambridge, I didn't have that. For me, Cambridge was not a place in quote, regular people went to. I was like, nope, why? It's the people, but seeing people who looked like me, who went to my uni in Nigeria, who doing that and then putting me through the process. In terms of my job, when I was eventually going to, get my job here, it was someone who had trained here that every single step for me. And I guess that is why I'm so passionate about it. I see how your network translates for business people in terms of getting clients, in terms of getting customers. I see how it translates for career people in terms of getting new jobs. I see how it translates for me when I want to hire people. I just go into groups and say, oh, I'm hiring for this, or I need this. And that creates a ripple effect. Some of the people I've used in building this platform have, some of my friends and other business people have then contacted me to say, oh, can I use your graphic designer? Oh, can I use your copywriter? You spoke so highly of them. Yes. And we don't, at least for me, I didn't find that we had this space, right? For people who especially looked like me or had my background, or for women, for Black women, for minorities. It's not, for me, the key right now is opportunity, it's social mobility. So this is open to everyone, but for us, that social mobility, we want to go up. We want to connect. We want to make things better for ourselves, for our families, for our generations. And we want to tap into that, because together we can do so much more, much more.
So it's like, I don't know, I think there's a Bible verse where it says a two-string chord can be broken, but a three-string something along those lines. I don't know if verbatim, but I think you grow stronger when you're together. And I think, even for Black women, I think like my pet peeve is people. I used to watch this show called Devious Maids, and there was one of the women in the show, and she was Latina, and then she met this guy. She wanted to be a singer, and then he was like, she was like, why are you helping me? I mean, I think he turned out to be shady, but she was like, why are you helping me? And he was like, because I made a decision that when I get to the top, I remember to send the elevator back down. And when he said that, I was like, I think for me, I always my pet peeve is people who don't want to ride an elevator with someone or send the elevator down, because the same way that someone that's not where you're at now needs you is the same way that you need someone.
You
That's
need
not, you
someone
need
to get
someone
to.
too.
Yeah.
You have to be able to extend the same thing that you want from other people.
Absolutely, but it's also not about, and when I say, this platform is for us to level up, it's for us to move up, it's for us to, it's not always that direct. It's not just, so this is a place only for people who are looking to move up. I think even if you're comfortable in a place where your career is stellar, you have the best network around you, you're comfortable, your bank accounts and your income and your finances. It's also then important, probably even more important, that you're lifting people up as well, you see. That you're using the network, the connections that you have been blessed with to ensure that there's the people coming behind you, because it's a generational thing, right?
Yeah.
The people that you lift today could potentially, help your siblings, your children, your generations 3-4 times down the line. And that's why we need to really, be conscious about how we go about in forming these connections, really, and just being part of such communities.
I agree. Making networking, building relationships, and sustaining relationships.
Sustaining them.
It's so important. When we were speaking about finance and women, I actually wanted to talk about financial independence and how important that is for women. Like, I think sometimes you hear stories where women stay in relationships and places that they're not meant to be. They should leave, but they can't because they don't have that financial security.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips from maybe your life or stories that you've heard of, like, these are small ways that women can, especially young women, can start to become financially independent?
Like you said, first, I think financial independence is even for everybody, but particularly for women, because typically people are stuck, they don't know how to approach it. So the first thing in terms of financial independence is realizing the need. When you realize that this is why I need my own money, because I don't want, you're an individual in your own self. You're not an appendage to anybody. You didn't come into the world with anybody, even twins. For your own peace of mind, for your own sanity, for your own fulfillment, you need to have that. You need to have your own money. You need to be able to take care of yourself. If anything goes wrong, so how can you then do that? Education. I was thinking recently that if there was something I was going to change about my money journey, about my, or advise my younger self, it would be to broaden your mindset broaden my mindset in terms of money, in terms of in terms of income streams, right? Many times, again, we're just like, go to work, get a 9-to-5, get a salary, live a good life. But there's so much more. You can make money in different ways. You can and should make money in different ways. So that is the first thing. What tip in terms of just starting your financial journey? It's still going to boil down to education. For me. It's like, what can I do, right? Okay, fine. How can I cultivate wealth? Now you've fixed your mindset about, look, I need money, money is money. I need to up my finances and master it. How can I do this? How can I start to invest? It's those kind of little things. How can I grow my money? How can I start a business that brings in extra income? How can I take advantage of compounding and starting early and taking the benefit of all the years that we hopefully would have ahead? And then finding people that are, gosh, sorry, I keep saying, but it's so, because I know
because it's true,
because that is what it is. Because right now it's so many things have been shrouded in secrecy, or we haven't known how to do it in the open. But maybe not even secrecy so much, because I know some of our parents and parents' would have things like Ajo, where they come and put money together, and then so those kind of things are so communities and education have always been at the fore of growth.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because we're now online, we're digital, we're finding, so we're not doing anything new. Our parents gathered together and put their monies together, and then one person needed it this month, and they would the whole community would give it to that person. So I don't particularly think we're doing anything new. It's just that we're now digitalizing it, right?
Yeah.
So finding, and I was thinking recently, all across social media in Nigeria, in more parts of Africa, in the UK, everywhere, I see communities, from financial communities, saying, "Oh, we help you, not up your money." No, that's me. We help you, build master your finances, or join a community of people who, I've seen people who have had excellent stories of paying off debt, of, getting into an investing circle with people, or investing as a club, or, just exploring opportunities to grow their income. That is where I would say you should start. Find someone that you can share that journey with. In terms of education, there are free resources. Find podcasts. People share so much. There's so many. There's so many. There's so many people who have shared podcasts. There are books that you can start reading. Even one book can change your mindset on things. And give you all of the tools that you need. So that would be
I agree.
Tip.
I agree with you. That is so good. And I actually, getting to know more about what the UpWomen do, I actually think it's so timely, and it's so important. And it's so important. I think all those things, because sometimes you need people who look like you. Sometimes you need people who are in the same sphere as you. You need people who have a different walk, even if you're in the same industry, same office, same whatever, because you learn by community. You learn, like you said, as by education. It's great to create a place where people can connect like that. It's honestly going to change so many people's lives and impact their journey in such,
I really hope so,
positive ways. So that is so exciting.
Thank you, Tayo.
Before we round up, I was going to say, in the process of writing a blog, being a mom, and then creating a digital platform, what were the things in both personal and professional life that have surprised you about the process, but surprised you about yourself?
Surprised me about the process and surprised me about myself.
Yeah.
Myself, I am actually, I'm simultaneously a hard worker and sometimes absolutely unbothered. Right. And I feel, I don't know if that's surprising to me or if I've always known it, but I could be the same person that would be up all night till 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Getting stuff done. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, if I can't get this done today, look, I'll just push it to tomorrow. I cannot, that has definitely surprised me. It has come because, surprised me how much I actually enjoy things like planning an event, because all of it started through events, right? Just wanting to actually, so I wouldn't have thought I would enjoy that process that much, but just being able to put together these events for women over time, and the actual process I really enjoyed, from going from idea to implementation. Let's see, what else in my personal, not much else, I would say, to be honest. One thing I'm learning is how there is a in terms of building the platform, and how there is a business out there for every single thing. It is the most fascinating. I'm like, I'm like, I would like to do this. Let me just try. Next thing, I do a quick research, and they're like, 10 ways to. I'm like, what? How do we know? It's almost like I'm living under a rock.
Yeah.
So, and that, it continuously leads me to saying to people, whatever idea you have, look, just go with it, because
go for it.
Nothing is new under the sun. You think you're coming up with some novel, it's being done.
Yeah.
Secondly, it's you just have to find it where you will get your target market, no matter how niche and the incredible tools out there to support you. So yeah, that's always surprising to me when I see something that I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly what I was looking for. They know how to
yeah. It's like I always tell one of my friends, like I always say, and it's not even with, I say it in regards to everything. I'm like, look, there's a saying, I don't know if it's just Nigerians that say it. I'm like, in this life, there's husband and there's wife for everybody. In this life, there's something for you, and there's someone that wants exactly what you're selling and what you're giving.
Yeah.
Like in this life, there's always going to be something and someone and a business for you.
Absolutely. Which goes back to the underselling.
Yeah.
Believe that, look, the person that needs it will pay. If they don't need it, the person that needs it will come to you. So don't sell yourself short trying to be everybody's cup of tea. No, you don't have to be.
You don't at all. I think what's the saying? They're 30 or 60 or hundreds of flavors of ice cream in an ice cream shop, because you're not going to be for everybody.
You're not.
Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Before you go, what sorts of things can people find on the Kachi T blog?
So that's so interesting, because I would say there's less focus now on that. Well, not less focus, but in terms of women who are not moms, right? So the Kachi T blog is evolving into the motherhood personal space and journey, where I share my, practical motherhood tips for women who are going through the motherhood journey. But other than that, for in terms of more career ambition, focused money growth, I think the UpWomen is really the platform where we should be shining the light. I absolutely enjoy writing, and just this morning I was thinking that I haven't managed to write my birth story for my second son, who I had 7 months ago, just because I've been so tied up with this launch. But I have to sit down and write it, because those are the kind of things I enjoy as well, which is, it's a hobby. Yes, it's also a bit of a business. But when I go back to read, I was reading the birth story for my first son, or just my personal life, that is the kind of thing that we'll find on Kachi T. So practical tips, stories and things that would help mothers, but for more connection, business, network, money, the UpWomen is the,
it's a place to be.
Platform. Yes, absolutely.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. Talking, I've learned so much. I don't know if you saw that I was actually writing down some things as well. And I'm sure that our both audiences will find it very, very encouraging and impactful. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I had such a lovely, lovely time.